All right, so good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending today's virtual information session. My name is Tori Visner, and I am DPR's Alliance Grants Program Lead. And today we are going to be talking all about building a strong Alliance team. So I do want to preface this meeting by just noting that DPR currently has 2 open solicitations. We are currently accepting applications for our Alliance Grants Program and our Research Grants Program. The information covered in this meeting is directly relevant to our Alliance Grants Program. If at any point you have any questions related to the presentation, feel free to either raise your hand or someone will be monitoring the chat box. So you can go ahead and drop questions in that. Additionally, there will be time at the end of this session for any questions that you may have as well. And so with that, I am excited to introduce Catherine Billheimer, who will be giving today's presentation. Catherine is a grant manager with DPR who has worked as grant manager on numerous Alliance grant projects. And she is a great source of knowledge when it comes to building a strong Alliance team. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to her.
Thank you, Tori. Yeah, good morning and thank you for joining us. As Tori said, my name is Catherine Billheimer and I'm a grant manager at DPR. And today I'm presenting on a virtual session on building a strong Alliance team. At DPR, we have Alliance and Research grants. And today I will be focusing solely on Alliance grants. I'm going to go over a description of what Alliance grants are and then work my way to the Alliance team building. Our DPR Alliance Grants Program funds projects that promote or increase the implementation, expansion, and/or adoption of effective, proven, and affordable integrated pest management, also known as IPM systems or practices. The goal of our Alliance Grant Program is to reduce risks to public health and the environment in agriculture, urban, or wildland settings. So what makes a successful Alliance project? Successful projects can really be boiled down to several points. They demonstrate strong partnerships, outreach, or educational or training component with the purpose of promoting IPM and the broad application of the proposed IPM systems or practices. And they can serve as a model for similar situations. And they have a high potential for wide adoption. What they don't do is focus on conducting research. Rather, our Research Grants Program covers any research-focused projects. And what is an Alliance team? An Alliance or Alliance team is the group of individuals and organizations with broad influence who will jointly accomplish the goals laid out in the proposal application. An Alliance should include a lead principal investigator or PI who will oversee coordination of the project. Team members can include a broad swath of participants, but the best alliances have team members with relevant knowledge in the field of study and strong connections to the intended audiences. Here are some examples of possible Alliance team members. Members should include active participants such as commodity group representatives, pest control advisors or PCAs, or pest control operators, PCOs, growers, academic and private researchers, school district representatives, representatives of public health entities, urban or industry representatives, sustainability or certification programs, non-governmental organizations, NGOs, or other entities with a regional scope. And this is just suggested. There are many more types of people that can become part of a team. Each Alliance grant is assigned a grant manager. A DPR grant manager is a member of the Alliance team, and they play an active role. The manager will participate as a member of the alliance team to create collaborative partnerships, help set priorities, and assist in carrying out the project. The grant manager also oversees the objectives, tasks, and deliverables, including associated required reporting. If an alliance grant has an education or training component, be sure to adequately budget for it. The creation of training programs should include time and travel funds for trainers to meet and practice as part of the scope of work and budget. The creation of online courses requires experienced online course designers and a realistic estimate of the time required. Content must come from those who are experts, and their costs, if any, need to be included in the scope of work and budget. Principal investigators and team members from 7 alliance projects were interviewed, and their experience in creating their alliance teams, about their experience in creating their alliance teams. We wanted to share their words of wisdom and advice with you. There were several common elements that emerged from the interviews. These are: consider the number and role of alliance team members. The PI has a unique role on the team. Reaching out to contacts is critical. Involve the alliance team in the proposal process. Proposal flexibility matters. And finally, hit the ground running. To start, the first element suggested by past team members and principal investigators is to consider the number and role of alliance team members. The ideal number of alliance team members will depend on the project and the tasks that are assigned to those members. We will take a look at this in more detail a little bit later in this talk with a fictitious proposal example that we've created to assist you in writing your proposals. Start with a small core team that understands the tasks and is committed to carrying out the project. Other members will likely emerge as the product takes shape. All members don't need to be identified at the time of the proposal. Roles that are known but not fulfilled can be listed as to be determined. The last 2 points here were stressed by all of the team members and PIs that were interviewed. It is important to engage the team members and allow them to contribute in a way that is fun as well as meaningful to them. And it's important to make members feel invested so they have a sense of ownership. Examples of feeling invested are, say, authoring a chapter, participating in video, or being part of a publication. The principal investigator has a unique role on the team. They have the primary responsibility for financial management and control of project funds, and they are responsible for all aspects of project administration. They should handle logistics to make the team function well. And very importantly, the PI needs to build in resiliency. When there are inevitable issues, it is up to the PI to make up the difference without putting too much pressure on the team. The PI needs to realize that the team process is inevitably slow, and they need to anticipate and accommodate for that. And finally, they need to be patient and accepting of all input from the team. A common thing amongst those interviewed was the need for building contacts that can be called upon to create the alliance team. Sorry, I just lost my pointer. And I can't seem to move forward. Thanks. Yeah, I can't seem to move myself forward, but anyway, so stay up to date on the research so that you're familiar with the professionals that are in your field. Be ready to reach out, ideally well in advance of submitting a proposal application. Look at your objectives and tasks and reach out to contacts that are highly qualified in these areas. Here, I've lost all. Some organizations have lots of partners that they can reach out to and include as members. It's important to include the alliance team in the proposal development process. Start by reaching out several months in advance of the proposal due date. Communicate with members individually and also as a group during the proposal process. Involve members in the proposal process so that they can help shape the proposal to have a sense of commitment. Let members know what is specifically expected of them and the required timeline. And this can be done by assigning hours to activities in the scope of work. You can also request a letter of support from members that will be included in the proposal. The letter of support details the contributions of the members. Those that were interviewed also felt that proposal flexibility really does matter. Make sure to write the proposal to build in some flexibility. For example, sometimes there's a need for a specific team member, but the individual has not been identified yet. In this case, you can have a filler and write down to be determined for a particular need that you don't have an individual set for. Have some flexibility for members to contribute to the team in the way that they want. And finally, hit the ground running. When writing the scope of work, plan a workshop, a gathering, or a team meeting very early in the project, period. The steps for the objectives can be envisioned and members can become engaged to work collaboratively right from the start. Write well-constructed objectives and tasks so that you can start right away. And now I'm just going to introduce an example, a fictitious example that we created of an alliance grant project to help to illustrate how we develop a strong alliance team. In this case, this project, the title of this project is Employing Community Science for Early Detection and Rapid Response to Optimize Control of Invasive Plants in California Wildlands. The goals for this particular project that we created were to engage and educate community members and field crews in identifying and documenting observations of invasive species and early detection and rapid response through the use of a mobile app. The second goal was to devise a plan for land managers to verify observations submitted by community members and field crews and implement appropriate control methods. The third goal is to evaluate and refine the early detection and rapid response program for future adoption. And finally, their fourth goal was to perform outreach by promoting and demonstrating the program in other regions. And I also just want to point out that this fictitious project that we created is available online to take a look at. So with those four goals in mind, there's two parts to the creation of answering these goals. One is the audience. And for this particular project, the audience would be community scientists and land managers. And then the necessary expertise to accomplish these goals, we'd need weed science, relevant software development, and teaching and communication. With the goals in mind and knowing the audience and the expertise that we need, we're able to break up the team into 4 parts that were needed. Number 1, the principal investigator, and in this case, it's a nonprofit organization, and the principal investigator requires expertise in invasive plant management and carrying out the early detection and rapid response programs. They will also be in charge of administering workshops and trainings, as well as project administration. Other key personnel will be designer for plant identification, mobile application, and they will be tailoring the mobile application to different user groups, as well as creating user-friendly informational material. Another portion of the team will be coordinators for volunteer group organizations, and they will need to know the needs of the volunteer groups. They'll facilitate communication, and they will help to inform the program. And finally, there will be regional and state park liaisons to help with this team, and they will know the needs of land managers. They'll help to facilitate communication, and they will also help to inform the program. So here's an example of an alliance team that has been created with those goals that were from the proposal, and then with the expertise and the experience that we needed. In this case, Anne Vassiv is our principal investigator, and then she has key personnel and non-key personnel that have been identified. That concludes my session on creating a strong alliance team. We will have this session recorded and available to you online. And I also just wanted to point out a few upcoming virtual meetings that we have. Our next meeting will be September 1st, and that will be covering crafting a scope of work, which will include writing objectives, tasks, and deliverables. And then on September 15th, we'll have a general question and answer session. And actually in between, we have September 8th, going over budgets and budget justifications. Then there'll be about a month break, and we will have 3 more sessions, one in late October, one in mid-November, and then one in early December. Important dates and deadlines to know. Most importantly is December 8th of this year, which is our final application deadline. Make sure to make note of that. Following that, on May 11th, the PMAC meeting will meet to review the proposals. And then on Friday, September 1st, that will be the earliest project start date, following full execution of the grant agreements. And the final date is December 31st of 2025, project end date. Tori, do you want to just wrap up?
Yes, thank you, Catherine. All right, so before we open up the floor for any questions that anyone might have, I just want to provide our email address. So our email address is dprpmgrants.solicitation@cdpr.ca.gov. And you are able to email us at any time with any questions you may have as it comes to preparing your proposal application, anything related to budgets, developing your scope of work, any questions about eligibility requirements or anything like that. We would be more than happy to answer your questions. And then for more information on our application materials and on our program, you can visit our website at https://www.cdpr.ca.gov/dprgrants.htm. And with that, I would like to thank everyone for attending. I hope that you found this presentation useful. Catherine, great job presenting all of that information from our previous PIs and Alliance team members. If you have any questions, we would be more than happy to answer them now. So we are nearing the end of our session here. So I just want to take a quick moment to thank Catherine for giving today's presentation and for providing some insight on building a strong alliance team. I would also like to thank our attendees all for attending today's presentation. I just want to take a quick moment to give a few reminders. This year, the Alliance Grants Program has $1.5 million in funding, and we are accepting proposal applications for projects with budgets between $50,000 and $1.5 million. Completed proposal applications must be submitted no later than Thursday, December 8th of 2022. And again, you will be submitting those proposal applications to DPR's Pest Management Grants Program email address, which is dprpmgrants.solicitation@cdpr.ca.gov. So that's the same email address that you can also reach out to us with any questions you may have. If you're interested in applying, we do highly recommend reading our solicitation very carefully. The solicitation can be found on our website, and we recommend reading it to ensure that the project meets all of the eligibility requirements and that you're submitting a complete application with all the required components. Additionally, on our website, you can find our application forms, you can find terms and conditions, and you can find a supplemental guidance document. So the supplemental guidance document contains an overview of the proposal application process, including some tips and recommendations. There are also a number of answers to some frequently asked questions. And then finally, there is a sample Alliance Grant scope of work and budget. So in her presentation, Catherine pulled from the sample to discuss the Alliance team directly, but I just do want to flag the sample as containing a full-length scope of work and budget. And this is really intended to assist any of our applicants in developing a scope of work and budget that's really specific to your project. I do want to add a just brief disclaimer on that again, Catherine mentioned this, but I just want to reiterate that the sample was created by DPR staff. It's an entirely fictional example. It's simply intended to provide our applicants with a comprehensive example of how to complete the scope of work and budget. The example is in no way intended to describe DPR's preferred grant topics or anything related to budget size. Nor is it intended at all to limit applicant creativity. Again, it's just intended to provide you with an example of how to complete a scope of work and budget. And so with that, I would like to thank you all once more for attending this virtual information session. This audio recording along with the slides will be uploaded on our website for you to refer back to. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Either as it relates to building a strong alliance team, if you have questions related to this specific presentation, or related to anything budget-wise, scope of work-wise, anything related to the proposal application process. Additionally, we hope you will consider reaching out or attending our remaining informational sessions, so on various topics, including crafting a scope of work, budgets and budget justifications. We also have a general question and answer session coming up, and the dates and times and links for these sessions can be found on our website in our solicitation. So thank you, everyone, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.